Hello, welcome to another Get at Gaming Plus podcast. I am Alex,
I'm Ben.
and I just realized we didn't discuss who was starting this, but I kind of just took over because that's
It's
the
definitely,
narcissistic ego I have. So
I'm pretty sure it's you since our last one was the review of Onyx the Fortuitous.
that is true. Yeah, that feels like it was forever ago, honestly.
It does.
Just the way that the weeks have been going, and just the way that life has been going, it just seems like, yeah, just everything's just time is flowing differently. um but yeah, it's summer, it's that time, so time's flowing differently because United States is melting, so that's probably why, right? Time melts. It's like that famous painting, like with all the melted clocks and all of that. Like, it's probably just why we can't conceive, like, we just can't understand, perceive, like, time right now. But anyway, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I feel the melting. They had to come fix my air conditioner last week. Alex knows this. I had 2 days, at least 2 days, with no air, and it was 89 degrees in my house. It was awful.
I would stay
I
at a hotel at that point.
I do not like summer. Summer has not been my favorite. I like winter and fall.
Mm-hmm.
Judge me all you want.
Yeah, I mean, fall is generally pretty good. um I don't like winter just because I don't like snow. So like fall is generally like my favorite season because it's cold enough, but then it's not wet generally as well. So I mean, it just really depends, but yeah, fall is generally the best season. Yeah, will we rank the season someday? Maybe we'll do that. That'd be really short.
I think that would actually be a hard one, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'd rather be cold than hot. I'll just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Yeah, same here. I mean, like, it's really hot. Um Even though I have like the temperature set to a certain amount, and I have a fan going on the other side of the room here to point at me, because like just having these lights on, this computer on, and all of that, that just makes this room extra hot. And
Oh wow.
so yeah, you just have to have it. Like, even though we're not really doing much, like, I still have to have some extra air circulating through this room. Otherwise, yeah, I might just pass out from heat exhaustion or something. So, but thankfully you have air today, because then
Oh god, yes.
I don't know how you would look or how you would even be able to do this. I don't know. You might
No.
accidentally put a bad movie at the top. Who knows? But today, I mean, for people who clicked on this, you already know what it is, but for people who like a mystery and you're just listening to this without even checking to see what the title is, um we're ranking the Superman movies, specifically the Christopher Reeve movies or related to movies. So this includes 1, 2, 3, 4 Returns, because Returns is technically a sequel to 2. And then this also includes the Supergirl movie that was a spin-off of 3. um so with the new Superman movie coming out next week, actually, um we thought that we would do these. And then I also, just on my own time, for the past month, I've actually gone through and watched all of these, and so just kind of on my own, so to get prepared for the new to get prepared for the new Superman movie. So yeah, we just thought we'd do this. I don't think this is going to be necessarily a long one, as we said earlier, but we can make some discussions and just kind of talk about the movies as well. But I guess first of all, let's go over this here. So this is primarily, I mean, this is Get at Gaming Plus podcast. You can find us bi-weekly on Spotify, You can also find us on YouTube. This is one that I would honestly probably check us out on YouTube for, just because there's more visuals. You can see us, our lovely faces, but then you can also see the tier list in front of you. So it's a little more of a visual podcast, but we can still recap things for those of you who are just listening in. With that said, I have seen Superman 1. I've seen parts of Superman 2 before. I had never seen 3 Supergirl Returns or 4 pretty much ever. I might have seen bits and pieces of Returns. Like I know the Kevin Spacey yelling wrong was a meme for the longest time. Um but like I also knew just enough about that film, but I had never watched most of these. So until I made the decision to actually go through these and watch them, I wasn't super familiar with them. Yeah, I was mostly familiar with
Mhm.
1 and 2. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to you, Ben, and just kind of talk to the audience here. What is your familiarity or touchstones with these movies in particular? It doesn't necessarily have to be like, the DCEU or anything, but like these Christopher
Yeah.
Reeve type movies.
So growing up, having a VCR, um, we got one pretty early in the stages. There wasn't places to rent. The only places to go was the library. Um, Plus, seeing these on TV and recording them and watching them over and over and over again, that was the thing back then. So, um, I recently have rewatched 1, 2, 3, part of 4. I got a good memory on that one. And Supergirl, I know enough about Superman Returns to be able to rank it properly. Um, I forgot how good these movies really kind of are, some of them.
Yeah.
Um, Good script, even though you know it's dated. It's kind of like watching like Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back. You know it the technology is kind of dated a little bit, but it still looks good, still feels good. Uh, I love the Christopher Reeve ones here. It's going to be an interesting thing because I feel like we're going to have an. This is my thought beforehand. We're going to have an S tier and we're going to have an F, and maybe a D. I don't know. It's going to be kind of a weird thing, uh, but yeah, I'm kind of interested how this is going to go. But I do remember recording these off of TV, you
Hmm.
know, on like a blank tape and just watching them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's what you did back then. It's kind of like, with the streaming services now of like, oh, I'll watch this movie because it's background noise, right?
Hmm.
That's with VHS, that's what you did. You recorded it on TV,
Yeah.
rewatched it. So,
Yeah. Definitely. Um. So there is a really good documentary if people do want to watch it. Um. I want to say it's called Super Slash Man. But it's the Christopher Reeve documentary. It's brand new, or new enough, I would say. It came out last year, and it's just all about Christopher Reeve's life as well as just like before and after the accident, um, about about these movies, about just his acting life, everything. And it's definitely is worth a watch. So
oh yeah.
if you are like, I'm sure most people are familiar with his his writing accident and all of that, that kind of caused him to, just not function well, obviously. um it is worth a watch. So I will say that you can find it on Max. You can probably, I don't know if it's physical anywhere, but you can definitely find it on Max in places. So um definitely give it a watch. It is worth that watch. um but yeah, Christopher Reeve for the longest time, he was Superman for a lot of people, and so people still think of him as one of the main Supermen, I guess. Um, so much so, I mean, we've had this conversation beforehand. Like, with this new James Gunn one coming out, like it's borrowing a lot of motifs and a lot of things from these in particular, and so there's a lot of nostalgicness to it. Um, so much so that like we talked about how like people who we normally wouldn't think want to see these movies, like they want to. Like my mom was actually even like curious to be like, oh, maybe I will go see that Superman movie because I like Christopher Reeve as Superman, and it seems to trying to be doing the same. So, but I feel like there's a lot of people like that too. So I feel like there are going to be I feel like the box office for this new Superman is going to be huge and all that. I don't know if those
Mhm.
people are necessarily going to enjoy this film that's coming out.
R- Right.
I think this film is going to be for a certain type of person, and it's going to either do really well or really poorly commercially, or like critically, I should say. Um, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. This is the birth of a new universe, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like you're gonna hit like people like me, and then my oldest brother, who's 52. Like I think this is gonna hit him. Like he has already talked about going to see it. He is number one a big comic book person, but also same with me. He used to watch those recorded ones as well. I think seeing the trailer of the new one and hearing the recompose original theme music is what got me interested. Um, that in itself and just the suit and just kind of how it is. Um, and I really do think that I think I told Alex this before. I think it's going to be the highest grossing movie this summer.
yeah,
Now, that being said, critics haven't done any reviews on it yet, which I'm not going to watch anyway. Which I find it hilarious because they've already done a review on the new Jurassic.
I don't think there is a showing until that Amazon showing. I think
Okay.
so. Like, I think my group of like people who are going to go see this early. Oh yeah, I have tickets to go see this early. Are going to like it's going to be like around that time. Like I think the critics are going to see it on Monday, and then the early Amazon people see it on Tuesday, and then the movie actually comes out like Thursday, Friday. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. My problem is and we can get into this here in a little bit, obviously with these movies. It's kind of like a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type situation. Because
Oh yeah.
one of these movies on this list here did try to do just that. It did try to invoke those emotions. It did try to play that music. It did try to do all these things, and did it succeed? You'll have to wait and see in this episode. But I guess we should probably get started here and take a look. Um, Superman. Let's start. Let's start in chronological order. That's why I kind of moved these here, um, in that way. So, Superman the movie. This is a movie from 1978. This is a Richard Donner film. Um, this movie stars, Christopher Reeve, obviously. It stars Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. It also stars quite a few other people. This main Superman film is an origin story. People describe, and I believe even Richard Donner, he describes it as like three different films in like one movie, because there are really three different films in this movie. There
Yeah.
is the beginning with Krypton or Krypton, as what's his face calls it. Marlon Brando keeps saying Krypton, and it really annoys me because in every one of these movies, if he's in it or if like the mom is in it for some reason, she says Krypton, and it's just like it's Krypton. Why is everyone? Other people could say Krypton, but if you're from there, I guess you say Krypton. Um, but yeah, so this movie starts off with Krypton exploding essentially. Actually, this movie starts off with Zod and his crew kind of
Yeah.
getting thrown into the Phantom Zone, and then it starts with Krypton like starting to explode. They send off Kal-El in a spaceship, and he goes off. And then that's like basically the first movie part of this movie. Second part of the movie is him crash landing in Smallville. Um, the Kents find him. They pick him up out of the spaceship and they adopt him. And so the second half of this film is really just him in Smallville learning to control his powers, learning just a lot of stuff about himself, as well as going and creating the Fortress of Solitude and learning about like his Kryptonian heritage as well. And then the part three of this film is really just him in Metropolis, him dealing with Lex Luthor, um, him dealing with natural disasters and all that fun stuff. Um, but yeah, this film is dated, definitely.
Yes.
There are a lot of weird choices in this film. We talked about this on on the phone as well, but just like for some reason, there like when Clark Kal-El lands from the spaceship, it's just like, oh, this is just a naked kid. It's like
Yeah.
why is this a thing? I don't know. It's so important though that it's in the beginning of the second film. So I don't know why it's in there either. But yeah, I mean that was just a thing I guess in the 80s and 70s. But yeah, this film is definitely dated, but like I feel like this is the most um modern film at the same time. So like a lot of the effects and stuff that they use projection um screen essentially to like project what's behind them instead of doing green screen. And so you're like filming a whole thing instead of like, you know, fixing it in post with a green screen. And so
Yeah.
that's why I think the flying and stuff looks really good in this film compared to the others, especially compared to, you know, 4 and 3 and all of that, and even Supergirl. But yeah, I really like this film. I think this is probably the best Superman film um that's probably ever existed, to be honest. We're not counting Man of Steel or any of stuff in here because that's DCEU, and that's kind of like it that like feeds into another universe. And so I don't think that's fair to compare that one Superman with his one film when there are other things that happen with that Superman. And so that's why it's on in here. Granted, I don't like Man of Steel. I'm one of those people who actually doesn't like it. I hate his Pa Kent in that film. How he's just like, no, you have to let me die. And it's like, that's stupid. I thought that was really, really stupid. But I love this film. I think this is almost a perfect movie. It has very excellent pacing, especially because how I described it, like it's three films in one, but like
Yeah.
you don't feel like it's like dragging at any moment. Um, and each part of the film is great. I love the casting. Again, we got um Gene Hackman and all that, and but then like we also have what's her name? Margot Kidder. Is that her
Yep.
name? Yeah, Lois Lane. Um, and then we got some of the people at Daily Planet as well. We got Miss Tessmacher. We got Otis. We have a lot of good characters in this film. So I am. This is going to be an S for me. I
I
think this
figured
is
it.
amazing.
I figured you're gonna do that. Um, yeah, I'm gonna kind of agree with you on that. The fact is the cast is great. So you had Gene Hackman, you had Christopher Reeve, Margaret Kidder, um, and you also had so Ned Beatty's character, Mr. Luther. Like, loved his character, Otis, in this. It was just really well done. And I did like Man of Steel. Um, there were some parts I liked, there was parts I didn't like in that one. But since we're talking about this one, I think you're right. I think this is an S tier movie, even though it looks like I said before, it looks dated. It's still a good story. Um, you know, I love some of the things like when he's first coming into Metropolis and he's being Superman. There's a scene where a guy was using suction cups on the side of the building and he's just standing on the side of the building. That effect is super cool for when that came out, right?
Yeah.
Um, really good film. Um, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you that S because that is definitely a really, really well done film.
Otis is one of my favorite characters in that film. And he shows up a little bit in two as well. But yeah, I just love it. He's like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Luthor. Yeah, all right, Mr. Luthor." And he's great, bumbling idiot like energy. Like he's a great lackey. Um, and
So
he's
little.
hilarious in the second film too for what little he's in.
Yeah, he's not got a big part in two, but he is there. And so like, yeah. Um, and there's another we'll get when we get into the other ones, I'll say what I have to say about the the sidekick to Mr. Luther. But yeah, I totally agree with you. This is an S ranked film, no doubt.
All right, cool. Cool, cool. The next one we got here is Superman 2. This came out a few years later, 1981. This is half Richard Donner and half Richard Lester. This movie, um, with the Salkins and all of that, basically Richard Donner kind of got fired from the second movie. And so 70-ish percent, I would want to say, of the film for Superman 2 was finished and completed. And so because they were filming Superman 1 and 2 at the same time, that's why there are scenes in the beginning of the Superman 1. It's like, why are they already introducing Zod? Why are they introducing all of this? It's because they planned on just kind of using everything and making these two films just together at the same time, just save money and also like just made sense. um
Yeah,
and so yeah, I don't want to get into complete details here, but like Richard Donner was fired from the production, and so Richard Lester kind of took over. And because of that, you can kind of tell when it's a Richard Donner part and when it's a Richard Lester part. So there is something called the Richard Donner cut. He didn't necessarily do the director's cut himself, but this was done with a lot of like test screen footage as well as just extra footage. And then they had to use some footage from the theatrical cut as well, just because things were not filmed. Like there's still 30% of the film missing. So it just feels like an amalgamation of different stuff here. We're
yeah,
mostly talking about just Superman 2 itself, but it does um, have merit, to talk about how there is a Richard Donner cut. Some people swear by it. I think it's good, but I feel like both of them are supplementary. Like, I think you should really look at um, the theatrical version of Superman 2 stands alone better than Richard Donner does by itself. And so, because of that, you should watch the theatrical Superman 2. And then, if you like that, you should watch the Richard Donner one because there's some weird, like, early 2000s CG in it, because it is like 2006, 2007. Um, and there's different, like, scenes and stuff in that film, too. So, like, the whole beginning part of Superman 2 where Lois is in France at the Eiffel Tower and there's terrorists there gonna blow it up with Vernon Dursley there, from Harry Potter as one of the terrorists. Um, we have pretty interesting scene where like Lois gets underneath um on the elevator, and then she's like, I'm gonna win a Pulitzer Prize or whatever, because she's like scared. And Superman does show up and rescue her, all that. None of that's in the Richard Donner cut, because that was not in his original view, like, at all. And so they kind of just added that extra stuff. Later on, there's a scene, like, they do still go to Niagara Falls and stuff in the Richard Donner, but and the kid still jumps off Niagara Falls, which is really stupid. That kid just annoys me, or the parents annoy me too, because they're just like, "Mom, look," and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, honey, that's fun." And then the kid falls down, and then they try to act like parents afterwards, and it's like, no, you're not good parents. But there's the part where Lois is like, you know what? I'm so sure that you're Superman that I'm gonna get rescued. Since why would Superman be here in Niagara Falls, right? And so I'm gonna jump in the river, and Superman's gonna save me because you're here, and Superman's gonna save me. And so she does that. And Superman does not save her. I mean, Clark like uses his heat vision um to like cut a branch, and so she can grab it, and then he like kind of pretends to be Clark and grabs her out, but then starts to slip and starts to swim away on accident for a little bit too, to act, clumsy, to try to make her not think about like, oh, that is Superman. And so there is that. And so like in the theatrical, like, finds out he's Superman by something really stupid in that stupid honeymoon suite, where
Oh
like
God, yes.
where he like accidentally puts his arm in the fire, and she's like, oh, let me take a look at that. He's like, oh no, Lois, I'm fine, like, you don't need to look at this, whatever. And then she finds out, oh, there's no burn marks. And then um he's like, let me take you home. And then they go fly to the Fortress of Solitude, and it's like really weird. Like, it's not even really like romantic, it's just really awkward
Yeah.
and pushed. um I do want to talk about the Richard Donner part of this, though, is that, how like there's none of the beginning stuff, but some of the other stuff exists here. In the beginning, instead of having her jump into the lake or into the river, um she does the same thing, but she jumps out of the window in Perry White's office, and she's like, oh, I'm so sure that you're Superman, because she's like drawing on a Superman, uh what is it, like him like posing as Superman posing in the newspaper. And then she looks at Clark all of a sudden, she's like, wait a minute. And so she like draws on the Superman, draws a suit on him, draws a hat on him, and draws glasses on him. She's like, wait. She looks at both of them like, this is the same person. And so she then finds out and just starts like egging him on a little bit. And she's like, you know what? I'm so sure that you're Superman that I'm going to jump out this window and you're going to save me. So then she jumps out the window, and Clark runs out really quickly, and he uses his heat vision to open up like the awning of like the front of the Daily Planet. So that opens up, and then he also blows on her to like make her like her descent even like less impactful. And so basically she falls slowly, hits the awning, and falls onto like a food cart. And then Clark runs all the way back up, and he's like looking from that window like, oh, Lois, are you okay? And so like it's much better than her just jumping into the lake, into the river. Like it portrays how like Clark works just a lot better. It's clever. And people complain a lot about like Lois, especially in like the My Adventures of Superman cartoon. But like she does kind of the same thing in My Adventures with Superman, where she's like, oh yeah, you're Superman or whatever, I'm going to jump off the top of this building. And I remember there are a lot of people complaining like, Lois would never do this. Lois is isn't this reckless or whatever. She
Right.
just did it here. She
Yeah.
just did it here. Both, like theatrical or not, one's more impactful, sure. With the with her jumping out of the window instead of just a river, but like they're still impactful enough, you know?
Yeah. I thought it was great. You know, I haven't watched the Donner the other cut. I just watched what was on Max.
Hmm.
But I what I do think is great, obviously, is Zod and everybody else. Um, you know, Terrence Stamp is awesome as
Hmm.
Zod. And the fact that they're there and they're running the show, and Lex Luthor shows up and goes, "Hello there," you know, like he's trying to work with them or whatever.
Yeah, negotiate
Uh,
in the White House and all that.
yeah, I thought that was really that's some of the stuff I really like. And then the double crossing and the triple crossing
Yeah.
throughout this movie is hilarious. Um, you know, and like I like it when he was like, "Oh crap, my plan failed," and he's like, "We got him, we got him. This is a great idea."
Hmm.
You know, and Superman's pissed, like, "I'm not falling for your stuff," right? He goes, "No, this was the plan."
Yeah.
Um, it's so it's like it's like a just a longer, you know, Superman, and you could definitely tell that um it was recorded at the same time, but it's still wonderful. Um, just the story and everything with the three bad guys, I thought was really well done.
Yeah. I do want to talk about this. People should really watch this clip. I don't know if it's on YouTube or something. There is another part in the Richard Donner cut that is really good. It's part of the test screening stuff, I believe, when they're in the hotel after I don't know, just after reporting or whatever, you know, because like the jump never happened. Um Lois is still suspecting Clark of being Superman. She pulls out a gun on him. I don't know if you've seen this at all. She
I
pulls
think I
out
have.
a gun on him and she's like, "You're Superman." No, I'm not, Lois. And it's like, "Yeah, you are. I'm gonna prove it." She has like a gun. It's like, "Now, Lois, don't do that. You're what if you're like you're gonna be wrong? Like, what if you're wrong? You know, you're gonna kill me." And then she shoots him and he like kind of like falls down a little bit and then he gets back up. You see him, he takes off the glasses and has the posture. He's like, you know, if I was Clark Kent, Clark Kent would have been dead. She's like, I don't think Clark Kent would have died from a blank. And then he looks at her like all like, ah, dang it. I gave it
Yeah,
away. um, and then that's how like they kind of like find out together, and then that's when they go to the Fortress of Solitude and all of that. But yeah, the with the General Zod, what's Ursa and Non, um, we have all of them, you know, just trying to conquer the planets because they are the few who were not who couldn't be rehabilitated. Everyone on Krypton was good and or had the capacity to be good, and there were only three who could not be rehabilitated or at all, and so they created the Phantom Zone to throw them in there, so they could just live the rest of their lives in eternity in the Phantom Zone to pay for their crimes, and so that's why like they are super villains, you know, like whereas like yeah, Lex Luthor is a villain and all that, but like these people have no empathy or anything, and so that's why they're just like killing people all the time. That's why they're doing just so many things here. But yeah, I love the double crossing and triple crossing. I love Lex Luthor in both these films where he's always like, I'm Lex Luthor, you know, the greatest criminal mind of this era, or the greatest criminal mind of the planet Earth. Um, I love it whenever he says that. I love his theme song as well.
oh
It's
yeah,
it's so good. Um, But yeah, them going to Superman's, home. They're going to the Fortress of Solitude. They find out about like how Kal-El exists, how because he even found out about how Lex found out about Zod and his people right before they showed up too. And so he kind
Yeah.
of already knew about all of that stuff, but Miss Texmacher was still there. Um, but yeah, this is the first time where like Superman really had like someone to fight against. And so um I think that with all that being said, and the way that this movie ends, um there there's a lot of stupid choices with this film too. um I really do like this film, but I don't like how he has to give up his powers because he wants to, lack of a better term, he just wants to have sex with Lois Lane. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Pretty much.
that's pretty much what it is. It's just like, and so he goes to his little crystal, and because they couldn't get Marlon Brando for this version, so it's his mom instead. And so he's like, "Mom, I don't know what to do." Um, all this, and she's like, "Well, you can't live with them. You have to be like their savior and all that. But if you want to, you can go into this thing that will just erase all your powers." And he's like, "Okay." And so he just goes there without even like confronting or talking to Lois about it. And so he becomes human. He falls out of there, and then he goes and sleeps with Lois. Like almost immediately in the chrome weird bed that like looks like it's folding into itself. Like it doesn't even look sturdy at all. Um and so like some of this stuff, like like he goes to that diner, he doesn't have any powers, and then he gets beat up. And then even at the end of the film he goes back and he's petty, and he just like throws the person, and it's like, "I didn't know trash ate trash." And
Yeah.
he just like beats up this guy. It's like, how, come on, man, you're Superman, don't do this, this is stupid. um but yeah, he loses powers, he gets his powers uh back again. um but then he also uses the machine essentially um to trick the other three into losing their powers, and then they all
Yep.
fall into the abyss that is the Fortress of Solitude. But in the director's cut, they do a lot of that stuff. Marlon Brando's in it, so he talks to Clark instead of, or Kal-El instead of the mom, and it's a lot better scene. It's a lot better done there. Um, but the difference is in that version, he says like, "If you do this, we can never really speak again. This place won't, like, you won't have anything anymore." Um, and so he thinks about it a little bit longer and then still does it. But when he does regret it, um, he finds like a way of talking to his father one more time, and says like, the father becomes the son becomes the something. And basically the Fortress of Solitude is no more after that in the director's cut. The Fortress of Solitude dies because Marlon Brando gives his life and the rest of like the Kryptonian like energy back into Kal-El, and that's why he's able to like be Superman again. And then also the end of this the second movie, in the director's cut, um, they fly back in time again to reverse time
That's crazy.
because that was the
I
original ending.
I mean, I think the funniest thing in this movie is obviously the three, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Only two of them talk. Nan does not talk at all. He makes
And if he
weird noises.
does, he makes like a noise like
Yeah, which is hilarious.
yeah.
Um, you know, uh, but again, I still think it's a worthwhile, movie in the series. Uh, I thought it was. I rewatching it brought back a lot of memories
Yeah,
of me watching it as a kid. So I still think it's a pretty decent movie.
I do too. I think that this film compared to the first one, I think you this is a film that kids like more, I think,
Right,
which is weird. But this is the film that kids like more because there's an actual supervillain. You're fighting stuff. Whereas like before with the first film, like yeah, there's Lex Luthor, but you're mostly just helping people or
right,
saving the day. You're not really fighting a singular person. You're not throwing punches. You're not doing any of that. You're not fighting yeah, like any super powered people either. Um so growing up and rewatching these recently as well, I think that this film is not an S. I do not think it's an
right.
S. I think it's probably an A. I think it is an
I can
A
do that.
film. Um, and again, I kind of wanted to talk about. That's why we went a little bit long on that. But like, I did want to talk about the differences between two and two director's cut because they are essentially the same film. Is one enhances the other, and so um, that's why I think it is an A.
Mhm.
If Richard Donner had his way and was able to just do this, and not get fired, I think this would be a lot higher. I think this would probably be on par, or if not, probably better than the first one. But that's a bunch of like what if scenarios.
Right.
Um,
I totally agree with you on that.
yeah,
So definitely A is like a perfect fit for it.
yeah. Superman 3. Superman 3. 1983. This is another Richard Lester film. Um, Richard Lester is the guy who helped finish the Superman 2 when Richard Donner was kicked off of it. You can tell this is full Richard Lester because this is a lot more slapstick. This is a lot more comedic. Um, there's a lot of just randomness in this, honestly. But Richard Pryor's like one of the main characters in this film. I
Yeah,
think he does an excellent job. I
I
think he
agree. Yeah.
does. I don't think this movie's that good, to be honest. Like, I think the first half of the film is really good. I think the ending is cool. I don't think it's good. I think it's cool. Um, but the rest of it is kind of boring. Um, even the Richard Pryor stuff, like, just kind of just keeps going. And Superman or Clark or Kal-El or whoever isn't really on screen, it feels sometimes, where it's just like, oh, it's just Richard Pryor. He's just carrying the shot here for about 10 minutes or whatever. Or
Oh
like
yeah.
the other people as well, like the villains and stuff are not Lex Luthor and his sister and all of that. So um yeah, so like I mean this movie, I mean it's so famous that Office Space talked about it and tried to do the same thing where they take those fractions of a cent and try to um make their paycheck rise. In Office Space, yeah, they talk about how like that's just Richard Pryor in Superman 3. But um this film doesn't make sense in a whole lot of senses here. Like he's going like Clark somehow convinces the Daily Planet, like, you know what you should do? You should let me go to Smallville and go to my class reunion. And let me take our best photographer, Jimmy Olsen, with me. And
Yeah.
they're just like, okay, sure. And like Lois is in like Bermuda or something. And so she's written off of the film. And so instead we have Lana Lang over in Smallville. Lana is a love interest of Clark back in the day, like when he was like younger, living in Smallville and all that, high school. She has a kid as well. Um, and so like there are like a few different parts of this film where there is Superman aspect. There is the Richard Pryor stuff, and then there's just like the Smallville stuff with Clark. Um, there's also this weird part in the beginning where like he has to like save this I forget what it is. It's like some factory, and there's like this explosive gel or something in there,
Oh yeah.
and they have to like, oh, if this place is catches fully on fire, that this will make this whole place explode. Okay, cool. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fly away. I'm gonna freeze this lake. I'm gonna take this lake and then just let it fall and melt it onto the fire here of this factory. Um, so then it cools down the place and gets rid of the fire. That's all fine and dandy, but why don't you use your cold breath on the very important things that are going to explode as well, you know? um
I mean, this movie had a bunch of weird stuff.
yeah.
Um, don't forget where Clark comes in contact, or Superman comes in contact with kryptonite, and it causes him to be angered. So, like, there's scenes like him drinking and like doing bad things, and his suit becomes a different color.
Yeah.
And then the whole junkyard scene where he fights basically himself, you know? Um,
Yeah.
that scene was that was weird.
I
That
still
was
don't
super weird.
understand it because like yeah, there's a couple things in this movie where my big problem with it is that like the ending and the second half is that it doesn't commit to certain ideas. Like it is interesting that like yeah, the synthetic kryptonite isn't complete kryptonite because we know different colors of kryptonite in comics and stuff can have different effects on Superman. So like this kind of just like turns him evil, and that's why his like Clark is like a little evil, I guess, but like Superman's a little more evil now. And so like it's kind of like the comparison would be Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, where he's just getting a little more emo. Um,
Yeah.
and so Spider-Man's and Superman are getting a little more evil and stuff as well. But we have that where like yeah, there's the junkyard scene where they're fighting and stuff. They couldn't commit. Like I think it would have been a lot cooler because you don't know. But what if they did split off and that evil thing became like Bizarro or something like that?
Yeah.
And then he's fighting it and all's well. And ends well there. And he like fights Bizarro essentially and beats the Bizarro. But with this, you don't know if he's actually like if they actually split up or if it's all in his head, because the way the choreography goes is when he like gets thrown around as like Clark, he is hitting things, like things are denting, things are happening. But then when he defeats his evil half, they kind of just like merge together again. And
Yeah.
so were they actually fighting at all? Was it all in his head? I don't know. But it would have been a lot better if they just committed to the bit and just been like, hey, yeah, this is actually an evil Superman that was created from the kryptonite and he's Bizarro. Like, just call him Bizarro and you could do that.
Yeah.
It would have made a lot more sense.
It's definitely a weirder film in the franchise.
Mm.
And not to mention the scene that as a kid seeing it still, I mean, gave me nightmares.
Yeah, this is
So
another one too.
yeah, like the three build this supercomputer, it's out of control. Richard Pryor's character feels bad, so he does a bunch of stuff. So now the computer wants to live. So there's a scene where they're running out of it, and it takes the sister, and she gets caught up in the machine, and they start slapping parts on her. The computer does. That is like still nightmare fuel from when I was a kid. Watching it again, I'm like, how did this make it into a PG movie? Right?
Yeah, and again, this is another one of those things where like they're too afraid to commit. Like this could have been excellent. This could have been them researching kryptonite. This could have been them researching things and accidentally creating Brainiac or something. They could have called
Right.
this Brainiac. They could have done so many things with that. But because they didn't call it Brainiac, this was essentially Brainiac. Just call it Brainiac. Just do it. Like you're the only Superman movies right now. Like, you have nothing to be afraid of or lose. Just call a Brainiac.
When I watched it today, um, I did notice it, and I probably noticed it as a kid. So after the computer is blown up and it all comes down, all of the bad guys are alive, including the sister.
Yeah.
Like she crawls out, she doesn't have anything on her anymore. Everyone's alive. So it definitely is a weird one in the series. It's not the weirdest one in the series, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but it just got there was so much going on. It was like it was kind of rough. I don't think it's an awful film, but I definitely don't think, in my personal opinion, it's definitely not an S or an A. And I'm gonna throw this out here. I think this is like a C film.
Yep. That's exactly what
Yeah,
I was thinking.
it's not awful. It's definitely not awful. Um, it's just not as good as the other two.
Yeah, there's
Like it,
definitely enough of a gap here to where, like, I don't feel comfortable putting this in B.
right? Absolutely not. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, if Richard Pryor is the best and the worst thing about this film too. Like, if he wasn't in this film, I feel like the film would be more focused.
right.
Um, but at the same time, the parts when he's in the film, it's good. So like, I don't get it. So it just seems like they just don't know how to write a Superman film um without Richard Donner. So that just is
I,
kind of what it seems like.
all the scenes with Richard Pryor, I felt like Gene Wilder needed to pop up somewhere because they did several movies together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and it also is hard. It's got to be hard for Richard Pryor because he was not doing kids' movies. He did the toy, and I think that was pretty much it. He was used to doing his rated R stand up. So
Yeah.
um, I'm sure it was kind of like Joe Pesci on the set of Home Alone of like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I got to start behaving because this is a kids' movie.
Yeah.
I can't say this stuff. I'm sure that's like what Richard Pryor was like on set.
Probably. Yeah. Now I'm just remembering. Uh Bad Superman. Like, what's one of the first things that he does? He goes to the Leaning Tower of Pisa and he makes it straight. And then the guy in the poor, like, green screen, like a horrible green screen, has all these Leaning Tower, like, models or whatever, like these sculptures. He looks at it, he gets really mad, he just breaks all of them. And then at the end of the movie, Superman's like, you know what's the first thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back and fix the Leaning Tower of Pisa and make it lean again. So he goes back over there, and this little merchant guy, he has all the new towers, like they're all straight now and everything on his like little cart. And then he sees Superman push it again, and then he waves at the guy, and the guy gets so mad he just destroys all his stuff again. Um,
Yeah.
just stupid, like little like cartoonish humor. Um, I've heard people describe this movie as like trying to be Looney Tunes a little bit, just like with its humor, because of how slapstick it can be and how comic booky cartoonish it can be. Um,
Yeah.
and like I can definitely see that, but yeah, this definitely deserves to be in C. I don't think it's worse than C.
No, I totally agree with you on that one.
All right, we got three more. Wow, we wasted almost an hour on three of these, but like, you know. All right. The next one here, 1984. Okay, so the previous one was 1983. 1984, we have a new film here. Supergirl is a spin-off of Superman 3. Superman does not appear in it at all. Jimmy Olsen does. And we got Kara, who lives on, I forget what that place is called, Argo City, um, which is basically like a tiny part of Krypton in this universe here that somehow just still survived on an asteroid. And so she's like messing around and like talking to this guy, who's like, here's this special orb that powers our whole place, play with it, Kara. um and like they have like this, he has like a magic wand and stuff as well. So like she creates life with the orb and the wand. I really didn't like the beginning of this film. Kara
No,
was acting like a toddler. I don't know what was wrong with her, but she was like very um not aware of her surroundings.
this was a movie. So I watched it again today. I had seen it many times. So this one here to me was just like, let's throw it all together. Let's go off of the popularity of Superman. Let's do that, right?
Yeah.
We'll get a good story together. Bam. Because you had some really good people. So I'm looking at it here. So Faye Dunaway, Peter O'Toole, um, Mia Farrow. Like there are some very, very big names. And Peter Cook, the guy who plays Nigel, did a lot of comedy and stuff over in England with Dudley Moore. So
Yeah.
you've got like a really, really good cast, right? Strong actors and actresses. But man, this was not very good.
No.
Um, there were not a lot of scenes with Supergirl. And when the scenes were with her, it was super quick, and then she'd go back to school and do her thing. Um, there. Funny thing though, and I was telling this to Alex before, the guy Ethan who um Selena was like seducing to be her man and stuff. I'm like, he said something, and I'm like, gosh, where have I heard that voice before? Like, where have I seen it? He literally is the guy from Die Hard
Mm-hmm.
that tried to broker a deal with the terrorists, Ellis, and got shot.
Yeah.
He's the one that was like, "Hey, I do $1 million deals in my sleep," right? And he was also on cocaine in the movie, but he tried broker the deal to get like John McClane to come downstairs, and he got shot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was like, gosh, that voice sounds familiar, right? He said something that was almost exactly like that character. Um, this one did not age well. I will say that. Um,
Yeah.
there's like two creature scenes, and they did not age well at all.
Yeah, there clearly is less of a budget in this film. And we kind of noticed it with the third film as well, where like the opening credits just weren't that good. The opening
Right.
credits in this one were pretty bad. Yeah, the actors and stuff, yeah, they're all good actors, but like you said, like they're not utilized well. Um it's interesting to see Linda Lee instead of a Cara Danvers, because like this is pre-crisis, I want to say.
Right.
So like the names and stuff, her identities are different. Um, yeah, there's no Superman at all. They talk about him, about how like, oh, that's my cousin, he lives over here on Earth, and blah blah blah. And so she just happens to know like um Clark Kent is Superman and all of that. So she's like, "Oh yeah, my cousin Clark." And then you see a relative of Lois who she's living with in the dorm, and then yeah, Jimmy's dating that relative. Um, and then there's witches and all this weird stuff, and then there's that orb, and like there's just a lot of weird stuff with this film. I wouldn't say this is a horrible film though or anything. That's the thing. Like this movie
No.
did keep my attention for the most part. Compared
Yeah.
to a couple others here we'll talk in a second. But like yeah,
Uh,
I don't think this movie is bad. Um
right.
I I mean I think it's bad, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever, I guess I should say. Um now I will say I don't know where I want to put this because I don't really have much else to say besides just like, yeah, this is the kind of movie it happened. But oh yeah, and we didn't even talk about like there's Zod. I think is there's a lot of Smallville people who show casting in Smallville. I guess I've never seen Smallville, but there's casting in Smallville that grabs a lot of actors from these movies. So like Zod, I want to say is Lex's dad, and in Smallville. And so and then Lana in the third film is Martha Kent in Smallville. And
Yes.
then in this film, I guess this isn't Smallville, but in this film Supergirl plays Supergirl's mom in the CW show, like the Danvers mom. And so they CW and that those kind of shows were have borrowed quite a bit of actors, and we're going to see that here in a second too, one more time. But a couple more times actually. But I don't think this movie. I kind of want to put this movie in D.
I'm okay with that. I think it was trying to do off the success of Superman,
Yeah,
but you're right. It's such a weird story that it just because you have good actors and actresses can't save a movie. And we see that even now, today, of movies with huge casts, and you watch it and you're like, okay, that was pretty awful. You know, so I think a D is perfect for that, though. Um, I do want to make a comment real quick because we have two more left. Um, I'm kind of I'm kind of wondering where these two are gonna go.
I think you know.
I'll let you jump into the next one.
I think you know.
Uh, but I got a feel we're gonna get an F at one of these. Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. The next one we got is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. This is a new production company that is working on this as well. It's no more Salkins. It's who is it now? The Globus, I think. Canon Group. Um and so yeah, it has Christopher Reeve again. It has and Gene Hackman again. Christopher Reeve helped write the story a little bit or create the story for this as well, because this is kind of like based on his idea. Um, the unfortunate thing is like sometimes don't let an actor come up with the idea of a movie. Actors don't necessarily know what a good movie is. And so yeah, but granted, I mean, on paper this might have been better than Supergirl and maybe 3, but actually being done is a different story. And so yeah, this is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Long story short, Superman um where do I want to start with this? The Daily Planet is being bought out by a person. I forget exactly who it was, but it's a person, and the daughter as well is working there, and the daughter likes Clark, and so like they kind of like go on a date or whatever a little bit, but um a kid essentially they're talking about like the nuclear arms race or something in school, and this kid is writes a letter and he's like, Superman, I think you should get rid of like I think you should do something about the arms race essentially and like help protect us. And I don't know if the kid specifically says get rid of all of the nuclear weapons or if that's what Superman comes to like a conclusion for. But like um the kid becomes a little bit famous because they try to use him as a publicity stunt. And Superman's like, you know what? You're right. I keep talking. I keep thinking about that kid, about what he said, and yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all the nuclear weapons. Why? This is Superman overstepping his boundaries like
Yeah.
completely, and like the UN or whatever is applauding him for saying like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all these weapons, and everyone's applauding. No, no one would do that. First of all, no one wants that, and second of all, the problem with this, the last film we had a bad Superman. What are we gonna do against a bad Superman? Like this is the problem that Lex Luthor always comes up with. It's like, why would we take away our defense systems from like someone who is a god essentially? Like
Yeah.
that's like I don't know. Like why we let him take all of our weapons and then now we're defenseless, and if Superman decided to kill someone someday, then he could, and we couldn't stop him. You know.
I mean, you're definitely starting to run into a little bit of injustice now, you
Hmm.
know? Um, so a couple of things. Obviously, not surprised it's canon. There's a very good documentary that talks about all the action films that Canon did during this time frame um, here, and they definitely had some winners and some not so much.
Hmm.
So the funniest things are, so you do get Gene Hackman in this, but no Ned Beatty, and it's his nephew Lenny, played by John Cryer, who's super annoying in the film anyway, because he's like very like Valley,
Surfer.
yeah, Server Valley at the time. Um, there, I don't think this looks good at all.
No.
Um, being canon, knowing that they had a fast budget, little time to get this done, right? That was like what the canon motto was:
Hmm.
do it fast, do it cheap, get it out there. Um, and so I don't think this was a good movie at all.
No.
When I think it's probably in the original with Christopher Reeve the worst, definitely.
Hmm.
The story was not good. The cinematography was not good. Lex Luthor just decided that he's going to steal a bunch of stuff to make his own supervillain. Which here's what's crazy: it could have been anybody else. It could have been Bizarro, right? He could
Yeah.
have genetically made a Superman that was not there, that's not there, but it's Nuclear Man
Hmm.
because he sent it up on one of the nuclear bombs that went off. And the voice of Nuclear Man is Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
So it's such a weird story, weird overall. Um, I did not like this one. I didn't even finish this one out of the ones I watched.
There's a couple like funny lines. Some of this movie can be good, but like most of it's pretty bad. I always do like um because there's Lois, the other girl, and then Superman and Clark, and he has to do the thing where it's like um two people have to be in the same room at once, and so he has to keep making excuses like where Superman is or where Clark is, or like Clark accidentally runs into like a thing of luggage so he doesn't get on the elevator. He's like, oh sorry, I can't reach you, and then he flies back up and then talks to Lois for a bit, and like there's just so much of that. Like I always love those kind of scenes just in general. um and I think this is a movie where there's where the train almost goes out, and Superman says something like, you know, I hope this this crash or this issue doesn't make you afraid of taking the train, because statistically the
Oh
train
yeah,
is the safest way of travel or whatever. And I just think that's really funny and just like a very Superman thing to say. um so like, yeah, there are a couple things with that. um but overall, yeah, this movie's trash. This movie's awful. This movie is an F.
yeah, I totally agree with you. I can't agree with you more. Um, it's just not good.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because Christopher Reeve had some writing in it. And now you do have actors and actresses that are like they help in the process of movies. Um, I'm pretty sure that Tom Cruise helps with Mission Impossible, because he's done it for so long. But it was just not good. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but we still have one more left, which is I don't know, man. This is, oh,
2006, Superman Returns. This is essentially a direct sequel to Superman 2. Um, so it erases 3, 4, Supergirl, and it takes place 5 years, maybe a little more, after Superman 2, because Superman has to go away off planet to do something. We don't know what. He just had to go off planet. Oh wait, no, we know. He went to go try to find Krypton, because scientists and stuff thought that they found Krypton, or like where it would be located, and so he wanted to go there himself and just double check that, like, yeah, Krypton is no more. Um, and so he goes over there, comes back, and his whole world is, turned upside down. Also, it's a different actor. It's Brandon Routh. Um, Different actors for everyone. Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, and because he's been gone for 5 years, he somehow he doesn't have a job or anything anymore. He crash lands back in Smallville, sees his mom, because his mom was written off in the third film. Lana says like, "Oh, I haven't seen you since your mom died," um, but she never died, I guess, so she's still alive. Um, and In deleted scenes, apparently I didn't watch the deleted scenes, but apparently Martha's dating, because like she um right before Clark kind of crash lands, you hear someone say like, "See you later, Martha," and then drive off. um but Yeah, Martha sees this, opens up, and it's Clark, Kal-El. He's crash landed, and he talks about like how, like, yeah, there's nothing there, I had to see it for myself, there's nothing there. So it's been 5 years. He gets out of there. He goes back to the Daily Planet, and he tries to get his job back, and Perry is just like, yeah, you can have your job back. Oh, well, I really appreciate having my job back. Don't thank me, thank blah blah who died. So I was like, there was no like, you didn't save his job for him or anything. It's just like, nah, you only have a job because we have an opening. And so He's being really creepy in this film too. uh Clark
Yes.
he is looking at Lois's desk. He notices that there's a picture of Lois with a kid, and then a male adult as well. And so you find out that Lois isn't married, but she has a kid. um and she's with Perry's son or nephew, I forget which. And so you find that out. And throughout this movie, like, Clark's kind of just like flying around. He flies to like their beach house and uses his X-ray vision to like see through the house and just like kind of watch the kid
Yeah.
and watch Lois and this guy just like talk and all that. And there's a lot of super hearing and stuff like that in this film as well. So like, he's spying on a lot of people. um they find out about Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor got out of jail because Superman didn't appear for his court date because he was gone for 5 years. And so, because of that, yeah, Lex got to get out, even though there's probably a ton other witnesses. There's probably a ton other witnesses, but
Oh yeah.
no, you had to have Superman come in and say yes or no. And so Kevin Spacey loves wearing wigs apparently in this. He has like a wig shelf of just a ton of them. There's a woman who's basically Miss Tessmacher, but it's not her. Her name is Kitty. Um there's the one of the guys from was Harold and Kumar is in there as like is one of his like lab people, and along with some other people too. But basically, yeah, this is a sequel to Superman 2 because he knows where the Fortress of Solitude is, but it's the sequel to the
Right.
theatrical version because the Fortress of Solitude still exists. It's not blown up or anything. So he goes over there, grabs all the crystals, and starts cutting the crystals and using. They're basically reusing Supergirl's plot, but as crystals. So they're
Yeah.
using the crystals as like an energy source instead of like that ball of energy from Supergirl. And so he's basically, and then he's also doing um a Superman 1 plot as well, where he's creating a new continent and having beachside real estate again as well. But there's a lot of problems with this movie. Lois is a big problem. I think she is the worst Lois we have ever seen. She is not Lois Lane. She's a horrible mother. She's a horrible reporter. She's just horrible overall. I only remember who the actress is. I don't know if the actress is necessarily bad or anything,
Kate
but I
Bosworth.
okay. But like the direction, everything about her was just horrible in this film. I think Brandon Routh is fine as a Superman. I don't think he's great as a Clark. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of other problems with this. But I did want to bring up the thing from Superman 4 earlier where I was like, oh, statistically, this is the safest way to fly, or safest way to travel. Because in the beginning of this film, when he saves Lois, I guess beginning ish, when he saves Lois and them from like the rocket that's trying to take off and the plane and all of that, and the plane starts to crash, and he saves the plane and puts it on the baseball field there. He lets people off and he says the same line essentially about airplanes because he's like, I hope this crash didn't uh make you afraid of flying because statistically flying is the safest way to travel or something like that. Like they
Yeah,
use the same line but they change it instead of trains the planes, which I
I
thought was
I
kind of
think
funny.
I think for me, watching it, I was bored.
Yeah.
I was not entertained. The only scene I thought was really cool is when they have, like, the very large anti-aircraft gun shooting at him, and
Mm.
he's standing there, and it's going, like, full speed, and you see all these bullets bounce,
Oh, and then the
and
slow motion.
they slow it down and zoom in, and one goes straight for his eye and just bounces off his eye, and I think that was really cool, but for me, I felt the story was really weak. There wasn't a lot of, Superman interaction. The wig thing, though, I get that because that if you watch the first Superman, Lex Luthor was always in wigs, and there's all the wigs everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but like I felt like it just was not a good movie. I was super bored. The thing that got me was that the cringy stuff. Um, yes, was it a Brian Singer film? Yes, who did some Rush Hours. I'm pretty sure he did Rush Hours.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, he did it. He also he also did X Men.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think for me, I just was like, this was not very good. And I laughed earlier because we put, Superman 4 at F. I don't know if this is like an F. If anything, it's a very, 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 very D, but it could be an F. I mean, it's not a good movie.
No, and we didn't even talk about the elephant in the room here where we're going to spoil this film because I don't care. Um the kid that Lois has is Kal-El Superman Clark's kid
Yeah,
because he's weak against kryptonite and he pushes a piano and he kills a dude. um but and he's like very asthmatic. There's really weird choices. Like apparently he's very asthmatic, and he has all these problems with him. But then as soon as he pushes the piano, he reaches for his inhaler and decides, no, I'm super now, and so like he's fine now. And so like, was it all psychosomatic? Like I don't understand why that is. But the thing that I don't understand as well, where does this take place?
right.
Because how old is this kid? They've been gone for 5 years. So I'm assuming the kid's only 5 years old. Kid doesn't look 5 years old.
No, he doesn't.
Um, or he could be six, I guess, depending on when Superman left. But assuming that this is what they're saying it is essentially, which is a sequel to Superman 2, theatrical even. Superman sleeps with Lois once, kisses her, and she forgets. Did he get her pregnant from that amnesia? From that
I mean,
whole day, or
it
did they sleep around again?
it definitely feels like a Law and Order SVU kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Oh, I'll make you forget. Yeah, I to me, like I said, I thought it was like super weird, and at this point, Brian Singer had done um a good amount of movies. I brought him up um to kind of see here. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, he directed some great stuff. He did X-Men first, then
Yeah,
X-Men 2, then he did Superman Returns. Um, I find it kind of crazy because I was looking through his thing. In The Usual Suspects, he was a director,
yeah.
which is an amazing film. You can't always have giant hits. I think this one was like, and he was one of the, I think he was one of the writers too.
Hmm.
Um, you just can't always hit him out of the park,
No,
you
you
know?
can't. And this is another. This is the thing that I was alluding to earlier in our episode, where like nostalgia can only go so far. Like we can't expect that this new James Gunn film is going to be great because when this movie was coming out, people were expecting the same thing because it's nostalgic. Oh, they're using that old John Williams theme. It's a sequel to Superman 2. It's doing all these things and it just doesn't deliver. And so I think we should be uh cautious about it. I mean, I'm cautiously like optimistic about the new film. But like we could get another one of these, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
absolutely possible.
yeah, and like James Gunn sure can do good things, but like he's also done a Suicide Squad, you know? Like the Suicide Squad isn't really a good film. But I'm hoping that from what he's pulling from this new one, it will do a lot better. But Superman Returns,
I mean, what are you
I
thinking?
I think it's a high F. I think
I'll give you that.
Supergirl is a better film than this film.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think it's far enough removed from Supergirl that it it doesn't even deserve to be on the same tier. So
I'll give you that.
that's why I'm thinking that F tier here. So Returns is better than Quest for Peace. It's funny because they have little references to each other, but or one reference the other. But yeah, this will be our ranking then. If you have no objections, or if you
No,
want to move
I
anything around.
nope. I think we're spot on it.
Okay, cool. So we have S tier here for audio listeners. S tier, Superman the movie. A tier, Superman 2. Slash Richard Donner. I don't know. We talked about both. B, there's nothing in B. There's a gap. C, Superman 3. D is Supergirl. And we skip all the way to F here. Superman Returns, and then the Quest for Peace, Superman 4. Um, yeah. So we'll just have to see where this new film lies. Will it be good or will it be trash like these others? I mean, we'll just have to wait and find out here. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. This is a good episode, I think. Because it was half it was half a movie review for some of these in the beginning because like there's just so much to talk about,
Oh yeah.
but also like yeah, these movies are for the most part, half of these films are excellent or good. So like we want to show the good and show the bad, you know. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that everyone enjoyed this. If you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. You can find us on YouTube there, um, or on Spotify. You can follow us there as well. We have podcasts bi-weekly, and then we also do have other stuff on YouTube weekly. We have let's plays and like some other videos occasionally, sometimes as well. It just depends on what we're doing. Right now, we're doing Undertale. That will probably end here in a couple weeks to when you're hearing this. But yeah, Undertale's going well. We're doing the no mercy route, so you got to kill everything. So um we'll see how that goes, and then I don't know what we're doing after that. But if you like this video, and let us know, just or audio, I guess, if you're on Spotify and stuff as well, iTunes, all that. Let us know what your ranking is. Do you agree with us? Do you think Superman Returns deserves to be higher? Because I know people can argue that. It just really
Yeah.
depends. Like, people do like that movie. That movie, I think, is at like a 70 something on IMDb or whatever, Metacritic, not Metacritic, what do you call it? Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? What do you think? But yeah, write down your comments there. Let us know. Um, I don't really have anything much else to say. Do you have anything else to say to the people, Ben?
Just to get at it.
Get at it.